Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. I'm your host, Kenshiro. Episode 241 on the dial. Today, we're going to be talking about tabletop gaming. Tabletop gaming has evolved over the years and has grown beyond just being Connect 4, Uno, and Monopoly. So we're going to talk about that with our very special guest, Lee Gaddis from Gaddis Gaming. But before I get too far ahead of myself, let me introduce who's going to be on the show with me today. Across from me is the Dapper One GQ wearing a Grogu shirt.
His name is Baby Yoda.
His name is Grogu.
His name is Grogu,
His
bro.
name is Baby Yoda.
We won't start that argument. And sitting next to me is the great Adakuji.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
And from remote, we have joining us King Amarak.
I only call him Grogu because I have to at this point.
That's right. You absolutely do. You absolutely do. And of course, we also have our special guest, Lee Gaddis from Gaddis Gaming. We'll get to him later, but for right now, let's run the gamut.
Run the gamut. Run the gamut.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
All right, well, starting off with the gamut, unfortunately, we have a death in my particular side of the fandom. David Prowse, who many of you would know as the person inside the Darth Vader costume, passed away this past week. Mr. Prowse was a very interesting person. I actually met him, God, this would have been back in 99, so over 20 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con. I actually had dinner with him and Lou Ferrigno, so I had dinner with the incredible... That was not Chicago.
It was Chicago. I was there.
I understand you think that was Chicago. That was not Chicago. That was because we went to Benihana and I had dinner with Incredible Hulk and David Prowse. And that was not Chicago. So I know you think that was Chicago. That's hilarious. And it's cute.
You know, we'll talk offline about that. It was Chicago. I'm telling you, Chicago. Anyway, yes, no, David Prowse. You're right.
Rip.
Yeah. All right, and that would be turning it over to the great Dadakuji because he unfortunately has another death to report on.
Yeah, wrestling great. I believe he was the first Intercontinental Champion of the WWF or the WWF or the WWE.
It was 3 W's, wasn't it?
It was he was part of the WWF.
Yeah. Pat Patterson has passed away, and I didn't know him or know him at all. Never met him. Never had dinner with him, and I didn't really know who he was until he was already old, because I know there's a lot of wrestling heads out there that watched him, I think, in the 70s or 60s, 70s, 80s, what have you. But, I didn't see him to the 90s. But he did add a lot of attitude.
Well, definitely. Not only that, he was the originator of the Royal Rumble. He was the one that brought The Rock in, basically.
Hey, I'll love that man forever then.
Yeah, he was extremely influential in the WWE.
Oh, big time.
F and E and all of the
He also
all the various
passed
stuff.
away.
Oh, yeah. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah. I don't really have anything for the gamut, but I did kind of want to just briefly talk about that absolutely kick-ass Mandalorian episode that we had this past week, this past Friday. Ahsoka Tano, Grogu, not Baby Yoda, Grogu,
Yoda the child,
not the child either.
He was like,
Grogu.
I hate his name. I mean, you know how many Star Wars characters' names are stupid?
Oh yeah, plenty
almost
of them.
all of them.
Plenty of them.
But it's gonna rub off on you. 20 years, you're gonna be saying Grogu.
I don't know, man. Honestly, Grogu. As much as his name really is Grogu, Grogu don't roll off the tongue very well.
No, it doesn't. It's because it starts with a G for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. They should have called him, instead of you had Yoda, you had Yaddle. They should have called him like Yiddy.
Heck yeah, Yiddy, Baby Yiddy. That'd have been awesome. I need a Baby Yiddy shirt now.
Yeah.
Little you.
Yo, that's hilarious though. That's hilarious. No, but no, I don't even know. Like that episode was so mind blowing. I don't even know where they're gonna go next. But I just need me some more Ahsoka Tano. And there was plenty of plot threads that came in that episode. There's gonna be plenty more coming up.
I hope they make a spinoff show like that.
Oh yeah, I think they're going to, absolutely, unless it gets resolved somehow within this show. But there's a lot of deep ties to Rebels, so I can't wait for more Ahsoka Tano.
Well, you're gonna have to wait
Bo-Katan.
because we got a guest on the show that we about to move to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're right about that.
Until next time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait till next time. So,
talk.
thank you for that nice little transition there, GQ. So, without further ado, let me introduce who's going to be on the show with us today. His name is Lee Gaddis from Gaddis Gaming, and you guys need to listen to his story. It's very important. Because it speaks to all of us as nerds in general and wanting space for us to operate in. So, Lee, please take it away. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
I want to thank you guys for having me. I appreciate being around fellow blurs here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get a chance to interact too often, at least in 2020. None of us do. But my story is one of perseverance over the odds, right? So I started playing D&D when I was like 8, and I've played every silver-haired, purple-eyed elf. I've played every white-haired wizard. I've played every red-headed dwarf that you can think of in fantasy gaming. But this is something that was just done. It wasn't questioned back when I was a kid. You sat down at a table, the companies made the products, you played the characters that were given, and I've been through the entire gambit. And it's not till I really thought about that I've never been able to play myself, right? I've never been able to play an Afrocentric character, given the parameters of gaming that I play in. So I decided, instead of begging other companies to have representation and to do something about it, I decided to take Hero by Design Studios, which is the parent company that I design out of, and I decided to make a product line that was intentionally inclusive, that had women and people of color as the core of the story. And that was built off of a successful patented product that we had called the Gaddis Gaming Tabletopper, which is just a generic product that we made in order to make regulation-sized gaming tables. So you could take any table that you have at home or out in the game store, and you can convert it into a regulation-sized 4x4, 4x6 table. And we got a patent for that in 2015. And then after that, I was playing a lot of I was doing a lot of wargaming. I had been doing wargaming for a long time. And what happened is that I noticed that in the wargaming community, there wasn't a lot of representation when it came to the stories about Black people, Black servicemen, and women. And so we dedicated our game line to making sure that was something that was taken care of. So what we did is that we said, look, we have a whole miniatures line. We have over 800 miniatures. We have everybody from Adolf Hitler all the way to Montgomery for World War II. We have Arabs, we have Serbians, we have Belgians, we have all these different nations for World War I. But what we don't have, and what hasn't been done, is the Harlem Hellfighters, which are the most decorated units that spent 192 days on the front lines fighting for the Americans against the German Empire. So I said, well, we have the 100th anniversary coming up. Let's make a miniatures line and dedicate our gaming system to that. So we created the Harlem Hellfighters with Henry Johnson as our hero character, Spotswood Poles, Harry Haywood, all the people we could find. We made sculpts for them in a war game. We dedicated our war game that we created called the Gaddis Universal Assembly of Rules Data System, GUARDS, which is a universal rule system. So any game that we create, if you learn the system, you can play any of our games. So we dedicated our first game called Shattered Crown to the Harlem Hellfighters because nobody else had done that in 100 years. And then we realized that the 75th anniversary of World War II was coming around this year. And so we dedicated it, our second game, Empire's Fall, based in World War II, which we have a Kickstarter going on right now. So please come out and support us. We dedicated that to the 761st Tank Battalion and to honor my grandfather, who was a vet during World War II. And I know a lot of Black people have people who have served, generations. One of the kids that I was doing gaming with, he had been, he had 5 generations of service, from Buffalo Soldiers, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and Desert Storm, which is where his father fought at, and we need to make sure that those stories get told. And I thought, well, if I wrote a history book about them, nobody's going to read it. It's going to sit in the library shelf, but I put it in a game with the same information and really challenge our community to explore their roots through this game. I think that I'd get a lot more traction and have representation in a space that is underrepresented by us, right? That we are not in at all whatsoever. I'm the only Black miniatures manufacturer in the United States. I am the only, a lot of times at the convention, one of 2 Black faces that are there. But I know that a lot of those spaces aren't welcoming to people that aren't white or male. Even women, white women of all types have a hard time interacting in that space. And what we do is we create a safe space by allowing more seats at the table, that everybody is welcome to sit down and play. And so through that just positive gaming interaction and with the like-minded people, we've been able to do a lot of things at conventions that people thought weren't doable. We created over in Windsor, which is a very different gaming culture, the Women in Windsor Wargaming Group, which are all young ladies between the ages of 12 and 24. And they're just laying it down, wargaming. As you've seen on our website, we have pictures of all of our different events, and our events skew younger, it skews browner, and it skews more female than the average game company or anybody that puts on events outside of like cosplay and comic book events. So
that's really cool.
So that's where we're at today. And today we are, trying to push the story of the Black Panthers, the original Black Panthers who fought during World War II, the 761st Tank Battalion, and the fact that their story has been suppressed. They were trying to erase their record out of history. They didn't receive their medals until 1997, even though they earned them in 1944, 45. And I think this is a story that we need to own. We need to tell. We can't leave it up to other people to tell our stories, whether it be science fiction, fantasy, or military gaming. We should have a presence at the table. We should be creators. And I follow in the footsteps of people like Dwayne McDuffie, who created Milestone Comics because he felt that we weren't getting enough representation in comic books, and he went on to do great stuff with Justice League Unlimited and all the other properties that he was handed before he passed away in 2012 from a heart condition he had. But he was a local Detroiter, and he really gave me that roadmap to saying, look, instead of begging somebody to do something for you, do it yourself. We should be the ones to tell our story. We shouldn't be asking Steven Spielberg or, DC Comics or Marvel Comics to tell our story. We have enough talented, creative people that we should be able to tell our own story. And one thing that wasn't done was here in the gaming space. There's Black creators. I mean, Cyberpunk was a game written 29 years ago, by a Black creator. The cartridges that you used in your Atari, that was a Black man that created that. Mm-hmm. So we've always been in these spaces, but we haven't been recognized for our skills and our talent. And I think that it's time that we did something about that. And I think the blurred community is very powerful. I'm a member of 2 or 3 different blurred groups. And I think that, they have over, 8,000 members. And if we pooled our money together, if everybody just put in $1, our Kickstarter would have been funded on day one. And we have to recognize our economic power. We need to quit chasing after other people and demanding things from them when we can do it ourselves. And I'm just one example I'm just the first guy through the door, but hopefully I've opened that door for a lot of other people to come in, tell their stories, and make their mark. I'm also partnering with the Native American community, who has a lot of sculptors, but they don't have any game designers or game manufacturers. So hopefully we can partner with them and make Native American games also. So, we're going to make sure that a lot of communities that are being marginalized will have access and a way to get their products out to market. And I'm even partnering with some brothers in South Africa right now. We're talking about how can we network with each other to popularize the nerd community there. So, that's just some of the things that we're doing. And hopefully with this Kickstarter being funded, we can put more resources towards getting product to market and also making the best products we can make. Because I don't want people to say, oh, that's a Black company, stuff is second rate. Our stuff is top rate. It's high quality. Our miniatures are detailed. That's why I like going to trade shows. That's why 2020 really put a real dent in our ability to really get out and show our product to people. Because once they see it, once they see what we create, they can't say that it's second rate or that, somebody else is doing it better. Nobody's doing it better than us. We're up there, with the top tier. We just don't have the deep pockets of people who left Games Workshop and started their own companies, with $300,000 severance packages,
Right.
So for us, it's a matter of leveling the playing field, making people feel welcome across the board. It's about having more seats at the table. It's not about taking anything away from anybody. It's about adding our own voice to the narrative and about being able to be seen as well as being heard. And we're a whole hobby company. We're into not only, the wargaming, but we're into the painting, we're into the narratives, the stories, we got a lot of product lined up. We have product lined up to 2027. Just that right now, to COVID, we can't get out to conventions and really hawk our wares. We have to do it through online marketing, social media. And I'm of a certain age and I'm not that social media savvy. So, hopefully, this Kickstarter and crowdfunding is a way for us to stay alive until 2021 rolls around and we get the vaccine out and we can get back out on the circuit.
Yeah, all that. I mean, Lee, thank you for all that. That's it's really some inspirational stuff and some really awesome stuff that you're doing right there. Any comments, guys?
My first question right off is, the Harlem Hellfighters. Again, speaking with my dad before he passed, I had heard of them, but to hear just the fact that you are going to take that story and translate it into something that the youth of this particular generation can learn from through a tabletop game is I think that's awesome. I noticed that you said Henry Johnson was going to be the hero character. Was he? Yeah. He was a Medal of Honor recipient, correct?
Correct. Yeah, he was. Yeah, Henry Johnson, him and Needham Roberts fought off 22 Germans from a dugout position. So the story. If you just Google the Harlem Hellfighters and Henry Johnson, the story of those guys fighting, where it was Captain America stuff, man. It was stuff that if you read it, you were like, how is this possible? They captured one of their people. They went behind enemy lines, got him out of the prison, and brought him back without losing a man. It's crazy stuff that they were doing. Yeah. But they spent the longest time of any American unit on the front lines fighting. And then to be treated the way they were treated when they got home is part of the reason why we don't hear these stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Black Panthers, the reason Patton was able to move so quickly is because of two things. The Red Ball Express, which was all the Black people that were driving the trucks and supplying the ammunition and fuel, and they were making sure that those supplies got to the front lines. And who was at the front lines? The 258th Tank Battalion, all Black. The 761st Tank Battalion, all Black. Right? So they were making sure these brothers got fuel and ammunition, right? And you had a motivated army. You had Black people that wanted a double victory. They wanted to beat fascism in Europe and they wanted to beat racism here at home. That's what the double V was about for Black people, right? And so they thought that they would get the respect that they deserved once they showed that they were just as American as anybody. There's nothing more American than an African American, right? So they thought that they would get that respect after that, and instead, they saddled these guys with Southern commanders who were racist as hell because white society, white military society at the time didn't know how to handle them. They didn't think that black people could be commanded by other black people, that they would be lazy and all the stereotypes you want to throw at us, right? And it proved to be just the opposite. These guys spent more time training at Fort Hood because they were reluctant to put black soldiers in the field. So the normal soldier got 9 months training before they went over and became a tanker. These guys had 2 years to train. So they knew their equipment inside and out. They had their tactics down pat, and they were motivated soldiers. So, Patton was able to do a lot of things that he did because these guys were rolling up front. They weren't afraid to take on the Nazis. And so a lot of white commanders got credit for things that the black soldiers were doing. And I want to make sure that is not lost on us, that we take the credit for what we have done, right, as a people. And we fought fascism with a segregated army. So let that sink in. So there's a lot of things that mainstream society doesn't want to talk about because it makes us look bad, right? It makes America look bad. But America has to own it all. It has to own the good and the bad, warts and all, everything, and so I realized that a lot of mainstream society and mainstream people don't want to talk about the Black Panthers or any of the black soldiers that went over and fought, or talk about and hide their records because it's shameful the way they were treated when they got back home after the war, but that experience in Europe led to your civil rights movement from the 1940s to the 1950s to the 1960s, where you end up with the Black Panthers all over again, right? They just took that name. But that name started in World War II, with the 761st Tank Battalion. And their motto was come out fighting. And nobody came out fighting tougher than these guys. Nobody can beat their record as a tank battalion. But we need to know that. We need to own that. We can't let those stories be hidden from us because of the way certain people feel about it, and I'll say this again. I felt if I put it in a history book, nobody's going to read it. It's just going to sit on the shelf somewhere. But if I put it in a game, that's something you can share with your family. The tabletop game becomes the equalizing playing field for everybody. It becomes the great equalizer because you can come with your army and your story. I can come with my army and my story, and we can both meet each other without any kind of rancor, without any kind of disdain, because we're both sharing those histories. And if I lose this time, I can play you again, and then maybe I'll win. And maybe, these are things that where it's the start of a discussion. And it's also a starting point of us learning our own history, just a little part of it, right? Hopefully it's you pull on that thread of knowledge and you can unravel the sweater that is a complicated history of America and African Americans being here. And so when I look at this, it's a process internally we call edutainment, where we educate and entertain people at the same time, right? So I'm educating you about your history that you should know, and also entertaining you by having a game where you can bring in your own elements, because you're going to think of things that I will never have thought of, right? And you can bring that to the gaming table. So what we're doing, we're just giving you the tools to play with. We're not telling you how to play, right? And I'm doing this to honor, like I said, it was the 100th anniversary of World War I. Nobody's made a game. Why should I complain to somebody else by not making a game when I have the ability to do it? So I did it. Our Shattered Crown game came out, honoring Harlem Hellfighters. This year, right now, today, you can do something about honoring the 761st Tank Battalion and all the black soldiers that fought in World War II. Because once this Kickstarter is over with and Empire's Fall is out and in the public, there'll be supplements. There'll be things about the Buffalo Soldiers. There'll be things about the other black units that fought and contributed to World War I, as long as we stay in that setting. And then right after that, we're going to be doing sci-fi, which will have an Afrocentric spin to it. So if you want to do stuff in the far future, you don't have to go to GW. You can have your army represented the way you want it to. You can have people that look like you on the tabletop when you're playing your game, because I don't think that anybody should have to play the white-haired wizard or the purple-haired elf unless you want to. In 30 years of gaming, I had never seen a character with an afro until recently. And again, we started this process in 2014. I didn't see Black Lives Matters, coming around and really blowing the lid off of it in 2020. But we were at the right time, at the right place, with the right weapon, and that's being in black bodies.
Real quick, out of the chat.
Unashamedly black, unapologetically black. And too often we have too many people who I don't even want to name, that try to apologize for us being who we are. And there's no shame in being who we are. Nobody else, no other culture has to apologize for who they are.
Yeah, right? You're right. All right, hold on a second. Lee.
About the Harlem Hellfighters, they introduced jazz to Europe. The reason jazz is such a big deal in France is because they introduced it to them.
Hey, Lee, can you hear us?
That's why it's a worldwide phenomenon. They introduced it in World War One.
Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Lee?
So our culture travels quite well all over the world, and I want to continue that tradition.
Restart
with Gaddis Gaming.
Restart the
and to be able to do that. Anyway, I'm sorry, I was long-winded.
No, that's okay.
Not at all.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
There we go.
All right. we thought we lost you there. We were gonna bring up something out of the chat. Go ahead.
Oh no, out of the chat. I mean, there's a lot of people are definitely loving the concept. They're definitely loving the fact that this is something that is putting our people at the forefront. Could you give us the Kickstarter information and also your contact information, how they'd be able to get a hold of you and help support this project?
Sure. It's Gaddis, the company, Gaddis Gaming. That's Gaddis Gaming. The Kickstarter, you go on, you type in Empires Fall, because they all do. So that's EMIRESFALL. 2 words. Empires Fall.
Okay. All right.
I did put the link in the chat too, just in case.
And there's a tip jar if you don't want anything. I think everybody deserves a T-shirt.
Awesome.
Even if you don't want the game, even if you aren't into miniature gaming, even if you're not into miniature collecting or painting, we have custom dice, we have T-shirts, and we have a tip jar if you just want to leave a tip. Like I said, I'm a part of a couple of groups that have over 8,000 members, and if we collectively as Black people pulled our pennies together, we could fund anything. I've been throwing this around with these brothers in Africa, and I was like, why don't we pick a Black creator and all of us at one time go in and buy a product or donate to that, to that one Black creator, right? Imagine the power of that.
Yeah.
Imagine if we decided, here's this one Black comic book guy. He has a comic book out. Let's all just go buy that issue of his comic book, right? That would be millions of dollars flowing in to that creator's project.
Yeah.
We need to think about how we spend our money, because I saw everybody like with their PlayStations and their Xboxes. That money doesn't go in the Black community. You're a consumer at that point. How's that elevating you? How many of our high schools have esports where you can make money off of playing video games, right? So we've been set up to be consummate consumers and not supporting our own banks, our own businesses, unless it's a nail salon or the barber shop. We need to really branch out into other fields. And I'm right now just the only Black miniatures manufacturer. So this is a field that I'm pioneering, that I am. I'm on a trail of on my own, but hopefully there'll be other people that will come behind me and do the same thing and branch out and use me as a stepping stone to get even further up the ladder, right?
Right.
But this is, I'm just thinking about how we as a people can start from where we're at and really galvanize our spending power as we go into the holidays to really help people do something. And I know right now it's tough for a lot of people, but like I said, if everybody chipped in $1, 8,000 people chipped in $1, we wouldn't fund it on day one. I wouldn't have to, go out and keep sending these messages for people to help. But it's good to let people know what's going on, what we're doing, why these stories are important.
And why they matter. Yeah.
And why they matter, right?
Why they matter.
Because right now the Secretary of State the reason he is there right now under Joe Biden, that he's nominated, is because the Black Panthers rescued his grandfather from Dachau.
Wow.
Right?
That's an amazing story.
Right now, you can trace history in the White House directly back to a battlefield in Europe with Black people.
Yeah.
Right? It's important, and we need to know that history.
You are right. You're absolutely right. All right, so thank you for all that, and like I said, I put the information to your Kickstarter in the chat. But let's start talking about tabletop gaming in general.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Hold on a second. All right, so tabletop gaming, as Lee has already eloquently put, is very multifaceted. Like I said, it's grown beyond checkers and chess. It's grown beyond Risk. It's grown beyond Connect Four. Which a lot of people do consider to be tabletop gaming. Lee's into miniatures, but he's also into, I'm sure, because you got your start a little bit with paper and pencil RPGs at 1.2, right? So back in the day, really kind of, because I don't remember you actually saying this. And actually, King Amarak, I want to hear from you too. If if it was speaking of this, what got you started into tabletop gaming outside of, like I said, checkers, Connect Four, and all that kind of stuff?
Right. So my grandparents had already had a game library, right? So there was Monopoly,
right.
Stratego. I think there was checkers, chess, all of that. There was the standard stuff that you'd find in any family home, middle class home, right? Connect Four, Then there was BizWhisk and all the card games that kids weren't allowed to play. But I had a neighbor who took in an exchange student, and he was from England. And he brought over D&D, and there was 3 little brown books. And so the kid that was my age who lived in the house, he was like, "Hey, you guys want to play this game?" And then we go, "Well, what is it?" He goes, "Oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons." And he goes, "You get to play, and I had just watched the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, that rotoscoped.
Yeah.
The original Lord of the Rings. I had just watched that, so I was down with it. So we started playing that, and he was 21. He was going to college. He was an exchange student, and we would come over every weekend and bug that guy to run D&D for us. And then when he graduated,
you know what he sounds like right now? What he sounds like right now? He sounds like the crew from Stranger Things. That's exactly what he sounds like right now.
Yeah, that's what that was us. That was us. That was us. Except we were 2 black kids and a Jewish kid.
Not far off.
But yeah, it was totally Stranger Things. That's exactly what, in the basement with the dice. And matter of fact, that was the time, I don't know if you remember this, in Michigan, that guy got lost in the steam tunnels in LARPing at Michigan.
How long ago was this?
You remember that?
No, I don't remember this at all.
Look that up. Look that up. Because my grandmother was like, "What are you guys doing? Are you guys devil worshiping?" Because
that was
that sounds about right.
Just came out. The hardcover, and on the hardcover they have the guy taking the ruby out of the statues. Mm-hmm. You guys remember that book?
Oh yeah.
The D&D book where he said, well, my grandmother was like, "That's a demon idol," right? And I guess the word was going around that D&D was taking people to the devil.
Tied into
everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah,
and so
I
said, "No, Grandma, that's not what's happening." So I invited my friends over to play at my house the next weekend, and she sat in the living room and listened to us. And after she heard us playing, I never got questions about D&D again.
Okay.
Lee, you bring up a very intriguing point on that, because I think that stigma is what kept a lot of people of color from getting into those at an early age.
Right.
Because the story you just told was the exact same story I had with that. It was like, Dungeons and Dragons sounds like devil worship, or it sounds like, and it's just like, it's fantasy.
Right.
It's, it's again, it's role playing. You're not going out there and having seances while you're playing this game.
No.
And I think that stigma. Yeah, right. I think that stigma kept a lot of people of color away from those games early on. Yeah, definitely churches too.
The churches like crazy, man.
Right. So
luckily I was in it early enough before it got to the churches. I'd already started playing it. And so when she questioned me, and my grandmother trusted me, but then when she saw what we were doing, she was like, this is just like play acting. I mean, It wasn't like we were casting, we were rolling dice and telling stories, right? And Black people were uniquely suited for Dungeons and Dragons because we are oral history tradition, right? You have some of the best storytellers, best comedians are Black people. So I think that we missed a golden opportunity because of that stigma, because of religion overlapping on top of it and putting a bad word out. And I think that kept us out of it for a long time. And now I was helping Willie Williams at the Detroit Correctional Center. I wanted to start a therapy program for inmates to learn coping skills using role-playing games, right? Where you can take real-world situations, put them in that situation, and then role-play it to come up with a solution where it's not, oh, this guy disrespecting me, I'm going to go stab him or I'm going to shoot him. No, how do you resolve this conflict in a way that doesn't involve violence, right? Give people those coping skills. Role-playing games allow you to do that. It allows you to reset the way you think about things and the way you tackle real-world situations. And that's a tool that we can use in our communities right now, especially in Chicago.
So the question I got now, you said you brought it to the correctional facility and stuff like that. So did you have them do like a crit 10 roll to do some to get out of some certain situations when they're like, did they have to roll the dice?
Real world situations.
But did they have to roll the dice in order to say either they did or did not complete the action?
No. The dice roll doesn't say they complete the action.
I'm just saying, because you said, right? Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah, a lot of D&D isn't just rolling the dice. The rolling the dice is usually for the GM to come up with a solution to something. But if you look at a lot of the stuff that's happening right now, a lot of it is just people interacting and it's dialogue. I mean, there's a lot of D&D that it's all theater of the mind. They don't even have miniatures or a table.
Wow.
I mean, we were all about collecting the miniatures and painting them. I mean, we were a whole hobby type of group. But what we did was I wrote the outline and submitted it to the correctional facility to say, hey, you can use this as a learning tool. Right?
Okay.
It's a really cheap and inexpensive way to get people together and solve conflicts around race, around gender, around financial situations, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very powerful tool when you have people that haven't had the opportunity to develop those soft skills.
Okay. So now that we know that, like, you started with D&D, King, what did you start with? What did you like? Are you into tabletop gaming at all? Like, have you played either Dungeons and Dragons or maybe even Robotech back in the day from Palladium Books? Or yeah. Is Mike still there? I can't hear him.
Took a break.
Maybe you took a break.
Yeah, you may have.
Oh, there he is. I thought I heard him. Oh, right. Yeah. Mike, you there?
I think so.
All right,
there he is.
There he is.
Okay.
All right. So,
stuck in the Matrix.
Yeah. Oh, so all right. So, what was your like? If you're into tabletop gaming, what was your back in the day?
Well, first of all, I did dabble in the Warhammer miniatures for a little bit. So that's what kind of caught my eye about what was happening today. I forgot when I started playing D&D.
But was it D&D that got you into tabletop games outside of like Uno and Monopoly and stuff?
It was a mix of D&D and actual LARPing. I used to be a member of Amped Guard out here, and we took over a field, and it was about 40 of us. It was crazy.
Okay,
but that and D&D seemed to come around at like the same time, and it instant hooks. It was just something 100% different than I had done with anything else. But it was so much fun. I couldn't really.
Okay. GQ was yours was D&D. Did you?
Honestly, out of the entire group, I did not do any tabletop gaming. I knew of a lot of the various tabletop games, but like for me, it was usually Monopoly, Uno, and just like you said, the standard board games. I didn't get heavily into any of the role playing games.
Man, I have to tell you, when I was in middle school, I was kind of heavy playing into a lot of the tabletop games. So, like I said, I did Robotech when I was in middle school. I did Cyberpunk when I was in middle school. Star Wars when I was in middle school. And this was all paper and pencil. This was like before the miniatures and everything really kind of took off. I never got into Warhammer 40K, even though I know that's super huge. But I was always fascinated by the miniatures too, because it was like, wait, so and especially like you would go into some of those stores like when we used to be down in Pandemonium, and they have like the big old dioramas and the big old maps and castles and walls, and they have the miniatures on them. And I was just like,
that's why I know I never got into it on purpose, because I'm a collector and I would have had rooms full of stuff like that.
Miniatures.
That it's like I can't. It's like video games hit me, and it was like, oh, here's where my money is about to go. And it's nothing
Right.
against role playing games or tabletop. It's just I know my personality.
Okay.
I would have literally like Hero Clicks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
Hero
yeah.
Clicks would have came out 5 years before it came out, they probably would have hooked me in. But
okay.
It came out after the fact, so it was like, nope.
all right. So some of our my producer is trying to get us to move on. We're kind of in the middle. We need to broach a little bit more. So just give me a few more minutes. So did you do any tabletop gaming? I mean, you're a big video gamer, but did you do tabletop gaming?
Well, I don't know if most of you guys know my story. You guys do, because me growing up in the cities of Detroit, I knew nobody that was black that liked anything that's considered nerdy at all. Just it wasn't happening. All the schools I went to, they were either sports, clothes, shoes, bagging as many chicks as they possible, smoking marijuana, all that other stuff. That was not me. And when I met you guys, it was video games, anime, stuff like that. You guys weren't into tabletop. I didn't know anybody. I have one friend that actually I have two friends. One friend, Hand of Omega, you guys may know him out there. He, as far as I know, is into him because he has tons of
Source
books.
Yeah, source books, dude. They were everywhere in his room.
Never played with him because I have no idea if he plays. I've never been invited. I don't know if he just reads them. I have no idea. And then I have another friend out there. You guys may know him as Big Preem. He plays D&D. He's been playing for years with one of his friends. He invited me to play one time many years ago, and I created a character, and I only played with them once. And then I was told they killed my character.
Characters at level negatives.
Then that's basically been on my.
Yo, dude, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly,
what it
though,
is.
creating your character in the paper and pencil RPGs, that's so much fun because like you have to literally think up everything about this character, his look, his history, his quirks.
4 hours of just
But
creating.
dude, it's so much fun just doing that.
Butt was hurting. I was like, I gotta stand up.
Hold on, before we move on though, and before we bring the chat in and turn the power over to the chat, Lee, I do have a question because early on you mentioned that you came up with a product called the Tabletopper. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I didn't. When you said the Tabletopper, I'm like, because I'm thinking to myself like, okay, but I can't just use a table. So what's the reason for that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the Tabletopper for miniatures gamers, it's a product that that takes, like, you have a kitchen table, but it's usually not the right size to play a war game on. So what the Tabletopper does, it's a product that sets on top of the table and makes it a standard size 4x4, 4x6 table that you can war game on, and it has a place for you to roll your dice, it has a place for you to put your tokens, your miniatures, cup holders. All of that is right there in a place called the Auto Play Rail. If you go to our website, there's pictures of it. And most of the pictures of people playing, they're playing on top of a tabletopper. And it allows your dice so that they don't hit the, if you hit a hard table, it bounces, right?
Right.
You end up picking them up off the floor. But this allows a place for you to keep all of that, all your errata, all your accoutrements that you need for gaming. It allows you to keep it in one area so you can keep the table free to put your dungeon tiles out and to move your characters and to keep your character sheets and stuff. So that was our very first product, and that was a really big success. And that really launched the company. That was the product that launched the company, and it was an agnostic product. You know, it was something anybody can use, whether you're doing a role-playing game. I mean, maybe you need it for a board game, maybe you don't. But it was made I made it for wargaming purposes when X-Wing came out.
Yes, I wanted to get into that so bad. I did. Anyway,
X-Wing is the bomb, man. X-Wing is the bomb. It uses and the thing is, they got the system from a company called Ares Games. It's called the Flight Path system. Mm-hmm. And so Star Trek copied it. X-Wing copied it. There's a couple of games that use that. D&D Attack Wing copied it. A lot of companies copied that Flight Path system and just, rebranded it for their own product line. But Fantasy Flight really hit it out of the park with X-Wing. When they got the Star Wars license,
oh, man.
I mean, they were off to the races, man.
You would have been absolutely sick.
So that was our very, very, very first product. And it was just an industrial product that we used that we were selling to game stores. So there's a game store that in Garden City that bought like 10 of them. The guy said, I didn't know I needed this until I saw it, because they were using plywood. They were using really heavy plywood. Their employees would get splinters in their fingers moving this plywood around to create these gaming tables. And I said, hey, I got this product and it's super lightweight. It's easy to store and you can just throw it down on the table and people start playing D&D on it. They started playing Warhammer 40K on it. X-Wing, which is what I had designed it in mind for, and people love it. People love it. It's a beloved product, and it saves a lot of trouble for game stores that have to decide on, I'm going to have this table for Magic the Gathering, or I'm going to have this table for Warhammer 40K. Well, you can use the same table for both of those things. So when your Warhammer people are there, you throw the tabletopper down. You have a Warhammer table. You pull it up. You have a table for playing Magic the Gathering. Right?
Nice.
I mean, so think about it. When you go across the country, you go from Maine to California, and you can play D&D, you can play Warhammer 40,000, you can play Magic. Those three games are pretty much universal. Any game store you walk in, you will find those three products.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's true. All right. Well, we do a segment right now where we actually turn the show over to our viewers. It's called The Power Is Yours, and we let the viewers kind of dictate what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to relate to you. I don't know if you can see the screen. We're going to relate to you what they're saying out in the chat if they have questions for you or basically anything that they kind of want to talk about. So right now, the power is yours, everybody.
The power is yours.
So anyway, I was saying that X-Wing was a game that you would have absolutely been sick over, because they had all the little miniatures of the X-Wings. They had the Star Destroyers.
Like I said, I know my personality, and with various properties, if I get into something, I'm going to get everything available.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is one of those where it's like, I already got enough Star Wars collectibles. I got a bunch of lightsabers. I got a bunch of figures. I got vintage figures, new stuff. If I would have got into miniatures too, it's like, dude, man, you wouldn't even get in my house, man. You got so much stuff everywhere. It's like, come on, man. So yeah, oh man, Jeff Gunther has been. This man must be a huge tabletop gamer, because he's been throughout this entire show.
Right, talking about all the various stuff. He said, I think he said X-Wing is his game.
Yeah, he said, X-Wing is his game.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys aren't in the Legion? Have you guys caught on to Star Wars Legion yet?
I personally,
I skipped the Empire versus Rebels version of it, but I went all in on Clone Wars. Clone Wars is my jam, bro.
Okay.
Star Wars Legion Clone Wars. That is the hot topic right now.
Okay.
They keep keeping up that product in stores.
This is like a whole nother world. Like this is a world I've wanted to get into, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it was.
You're talking about a $12 billion industry, my brother.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, it's like it's something that I wanted to get into, but I never made time for, because I felt like there was like you alluded to earlier, that you felt like you weren't welcome, or it wasn't open for you to come in and join. It wasn't. I want to say that a bunch of white male nerds sitting around a table is intimidating, but I mean, well, maybe
but you want to feel welcome. I mean, that's you don't want to rain on anybody else's parade, or you don't want to feel like that you're jamming up, yucking somebody else's yum, right? And in fact, think about this. There's a group of women that meet at the Ferndale Library, and they play D&D. Why do they do that?
Because that's the only place they can go that they feel welcome.
Because Yeah, because if they go to the game store, I asked the young lady, and she said that the reason that they all get together and play together because they got sick of being hit on.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
They're
You know, I
That's
can
also,
totally see
that's
that.
also fair.
Yeah.
You know, and they said they got sick of going to game stores and just being hit on.
Yeah, because they'd never seen a girl.
So they
at
got
the game
together and they
stores.
play a D&D game where they don't have to deal with that crap.
Wow, that's sad.
Jeff, I'm sorry. Jeff actually had a question for you. He said, "What is it like to play your game?" I think, but your game is still being worked on, correct?
No, my game is the game is solid. There's YouTube. If you go to our YouTube channel, there's how to play videos on how to play it. But our game is basically, if you imagine, it's like chess on steroids, right? So it's we use an analytical model of resources where you have an army, I have an army, and you have to achieve objectives with that army, right? So each of us build an army. The army is built on points, right? So we'll play a game. Our army is 500 points. You have a 500 point, I have a 500-point army, you know, and then we'll try to achieve these objectives in 6 turns, right? Whoever kills the most units or achieves all those objectives at the end of turn 6 wins the game. So each of the minutes, so just say your infantry are like pawns, right?
All right.
Your mortars and your anti-tank guns are like rooks, right? Your cavalry is like knights. And then your kings and queens are the objectives and or tanks, right? So if you knock out a tank is usually like a really prized possession to try to take out in the game.
Right.
So, but you build your army to your taste. So maybe you're French. You want to build a French army. Great. We have all the miniatures for France. You want to build, you know, any flavor of airborne, American, or you're British. You know, any flavor that you want to build, we give you the tools to build that with. You know, and even in our Kickstarter, we had a guy. He was like, "Hey, can I have one army be the Black Panthers and the other army be the Harlem Hellfighters?" I'm like, "No problem. We could do that for you." Why? Because we make it all ourselves. None of our stuff comes from China. Everything is made right here in Detroit, made right here in the United States.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we can customize all of it.
He had a follow-up. He says the game is up to 4 players. How would 4 players work? Unless you may have, I don't know if we're getting, you know, the chat's a little bit delayed, so I don't know if you actually answered it or not. But he said, I see your game is up to 4 players. But yep.
So each side, so if you had 1,000 points, each side would pick 500 points, and you just have a bigger table. You just need a bigger space to play in.
Ah, okay.
Right, because it's made for 2 players. So the more players you add, the wider the table would have to be.
Gotcha.
For everybody to accommodate it. We've done that at tournaments. We've done 4 players. And we've had it where, here's another thing, innovative thing that we've done, is that we've had one player play the tanks, you know, the mechanized units, and we had another player control the infantry. So even though they're on the same team playing with the same army, each person is control of different units.
Nice.
So it gives everybody something to do, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it gives everybody something to do, and everybody stays engaged because it's a 2-test system. You have a test to attack, and you have a test to defend. So each player stays engaged. So it's not like other games where like I'm going to move all my stuff and shoot all my stuff, and you just have to take it. You know, in our game, it's a random draw system from a pull bag. So each unit is represented by a token, and all the tokens go into the bag. And then when you pull the token out of the bag, it's either your unit or my unit. So if it's your unit, you get to go. You get to move one of your units. If it's mine, then I get to use my units. And sometimes you don't want to go first, right? So I'm really praying that you get the tokens first before I get them, because I want to see where you deploy it, and then I can shoot at your units. If I'm the first one on the field, then I'm just giving you targets to shoot at when it's your turn.
That's true.
So there's a lot of strategy. There's a deep strategy in there. You can learn the game in like 15 minutes, but the strategy is deeper, like chess.
Okay. Mike Oliver, you said you were asking your question next week. What was your question, Mike Oliver?
His question was, what do you think about G4 TV coming back?
Oh.
No, we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That's awesome.
So we actually watched the reunion special a little bit before. Was it before our show last week?
Yeah, we watched that last week.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird, but it was very nostalgic seeing like a lot of the skits. They seem to heavily focus on. Well, they heavily focused on both Morgan and Adam, but also Kevin and Olivia.
Well, because they were the main people
they were
on
the big
G4.
They were the biggest
Olivia
ones.
was the big thing there.
Well, yeah, no, see, Layla Kaylee is who I wanted to see.
See, and they left her off completely. Like,
I don't know if she left her off. Maybe she just didn't want nothing to do with it.
But she was an integral part.
Yeah.
It may
like,
be, but you
I
could be
remember
like,
the
well,
feed
you could have
because
been
of
like,
her.
if somebody in G4 slapped your ass, we don't know if this happened. I'm just throwing out there speculation.
No, it did
You could
happen.
be throwing up middle fingers like, no, I'm not coming
There's a
back.
video
So,
of it.
You don't
There's
know.
a video of it. There's video
There's a
proof
video of it, yeah.
of Layla Kaylee
I was
getting her
watching
ass
that
slapped.
episode when he did it, and she smacked him, and he said, "We're live on air," and she said, "I don't care."
Yeah.
Oh, well, I missed
she
that.
probably
Oh,
just didn't
I
wanna come
totally
back.
missed that. Like,
I remember
okay,
that
I'm
episode
absolutely.
very
who did
distinctly,
it?
'cause I'm like, how
Who
weird
did
is that?
this? Who did this?
He smacked Olivia Nunn's ass.
Oh, not
Oh,
Olivia
Munn.
Munn. No, they're talking about Layla Kaylee.
Oh,
With,
wait,
yeah, Layla
G-
Kaylee was a different person.
Who smacked Munn's ass?
I would imagine
It
it would
probably
be
is Kevin,
Yeah,
right?
probably Kevin.
Probably Kevin. Oh,
Yeah.
Kevin did.
But that's just saying, you don't know what she was, maybe she just didn't want to come back. Maybe she's out of the game.
Maybe not.
Well, that's
I don't know.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
And then a lot of them have moved on to other careers too.
Oh yeah,
'Cause that-
definitely.
oh yeah.
yeah.
Like Munn doesn't need this. Like she'd be doing it just
No.
because she loved it.
Yeah.
But-
Well, I mean, again, I think she did it in the sense knowing that, hey, this is where I got my start. Let me,
Pay
let me-
homage.
let me come back. There's
Right.
also this word is homage.
Yeah,
pay homage.
and also
Yeah,
it
so
helps
pay
her
homage.
There you
reconnect
go.
with her fan base too, for whatever her next project is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So all right. So the new G4 basically, it's gonna be Xavier Woods is gonna be like the headliner
He
now.
was coming. Can he use his wrestling? I thought WWE
Well, no, he
didn't want
used
that.
his real name too.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, like, because I saw they said that Xavier was coming to G4. And I was like, I thought that was his wrestling name, and WWE does not want their wrestlers.
No, they don't.
So he would have
I
to
think
be.
he's in that
Creed,
weird rarefied area where it's kind of like he brings in a lot of people from all genres.
Yeah.
And so Vince is like,
Okay.
I can make an exception.
Right.
I'm almost positive that's what it is.
Like, dude, like him cracking down on all of his wrestlers' Twitch and stuff like that. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to force kayfabe to come back somehow, but it's impossible. You can't do it.
I don't think he's trying to force kayfabe. I think what it is, and I understand part of why he's doing what he does, because it's like, look, you came in, you made a name for yourself on my platform. I own that name because they own all their names.
Right.
There's very few wrestlers that actually get to keep their actual name.
Right.
But it's you basically made your bones on my platform. You got popular on my platform. You taking that particular name and using it elsewhere and getting money off of it is taking money out of my pocket, because it's technically that's still my name. He needs to look at it in the sense of the world has changed, the opportunities are different, and money is money. You're gonna get it.
Right.
Selena Vega, it was the biggest mistake he could have possibly made.
Oh, when he fired her,
Right.
the way he fired her, yeah.
Because she appeals to not just wrestling fans, she appeals to cosplay fans, anime fans, video game fans. That's all that money that you basically just pissed away because this one person who crossed all of those genres, you fired them because they were branching out doing their own thing during a time when you can't really offer her the best money anyway because you can't do your live events the way you normally do them, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that was really short-sighted on his part, because like literally wherever she's seen, she's gonna bring those people back to you. Like, so what are you doing?
Yep. Because I found out about her through cosplay before I found out that she was a wrestler. She was already wrestling. I saw some of her cosplay pictures before I even knew she was a wrestler. I was like,
wow.
Wait. I might need to start watching Raw again.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I wonder if she's going to go over to AEW or something like that.
You
after,
know she's going to.
So,
come on, you can't. Dude.
Speaking of AEW, I literally just saw on my Facebook feed right now, Sting just making an appearance today. Yes.
On AEW?
Yes. Sting just made an appearance today.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Taker retired and Sting is like, hey, there's an opening.
For Old Man on the Block. All right, so cameras up. We're getting ready to end the show. It's almost 10 o'clock. Yes.
Oh, man, we lost Lee somehow.
Did we?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I didn't think we
I'm
lost
still lurking about.
Right.
Awesome. Appreciate you being on for sure.
We definitely appreciate you being on. You dropped a lot
A lot of knowledge.
Thank you very much for picking up my slack. Because obviously I'm tongue tied right now.
The pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, really interesting stuff that he's got going on. People out there in the Culture Junkie Nation, I need you to go and check out his Kickstarter. If you're interested, throw him a tip or donate and donate to the cause and
Get
become
a t-shirt if nothing else.
Get a Get a t-shirt if nothing else. You're right. So and also when you get back in town, we'll have to hook up. Well, when COVID is over, we'll have to stop by the store and kind of do some stuff. That'll be pretty cool as well.
I would love to play games with you. We're gonna make a date of that. I'm gonna bring all the things we need. I'm gonna run you guys through the game, and I'm gonna make you gamers. And I'm gonna let you play. You want to play Clone Wars with me?
Be very careful. We don't want to trigger some kind of obsessive buying tendencies. Here,
Right.
look at him. He's trying to hustle us right now.
I am not mad at him.
I ain't mad at him either.
Hey.
I ain't mad at it either. Hey, Lee, thank you very much again for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me, King.
You're welcome. So, Culture Junkies, next week, come back next week. Next week is going to be an all game awards show. We're going to have some brackets. We're going to take some bets, maybe.
No, we didn't. Vegas gaming rules. You can't do that.
I didn't say what we'd be betting.
You just said we taking some bets. I ain't getting in trouble.
All right, fine.
Yeah,
We'll just be debating what might win Game of the Year or some of the other various awards that are going to be coming on. So that's going to be an exciting show. Make sure you come back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central for the next episode of Culture Junkies Live. GQ, got a message for our patrons, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, if y'all want to, again, support Mr. Gaddis and his awesome endeavor. However, if you would also like to support the Culture Junkies and be like our Culture Junkies level patrons, DeMarcus Smith, Fab Nerd Life, and the NetNet, you can get a shout out from yours truly on not only the live show, but also on the unboxings that I do on Fridays and the Blu-ray reviews that I do on Tuesdays. And we appreciate the love. And that tier is a little bit too much for you, too rich for your blood. For as little as $1 a month, not even $1 a day like some of them other places be asking for, you can support a Culture Junkie. So we appreciate all the likes, the love, and the shares. Share.
Like.
So appreciate y'all. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll turn it back over to Kenshiro.
All right, y'all. So that was a nice rundown from GQ, and we want to thank our guest Lee Gaddis for coming in again, joining the show and dropping a lot of knowledge. So we're gonna let you go ahead and enjoy the rest of your week. Make sure you come back next week for another great episode of Culture Just Live. Until then, I am your host, Kenshiro, for my friends GQ, the Great Daidakuji, and King Amarak. We will see you guys later. Have a great one.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.